Welcome to the HatchetBall podcast. I am your host, Mark Cole, and as always, I am joined by the hot tub podcaster, Dave Troy. Dave Troy, how you doing?
I am feeling great right now. It's beautiful. Nice, lovely Chicago evening. Warm water. Hands going everywhere.
There's a flurry of activity below the surface, I think is how that's termed. But yeah, we figured we'd surprise everybody, get our first video podcast out of the way. We've had some people just fucking clamoring for a video podcast. We've had clamoring for the championship, end of the season recap podcast. So we're doing it here. We're doing it in style, of course. Why not?
Yep. It's,
And that's it. That's all we got for you. No content, no nothing. We're gonna do this for about 45 minutes. You can just watch us soak.
See you next year, guys.
We're just loading up for round 2, if you know what I mean. So a little bit of a recovery period.
For all you young cats out there, this is what you guys have to look forward to in about 10 years.
Yeah, it takes a little longer.
Chiseled bods like these.
Oh, I thought you meant the reload period takes a little longer. That too. Yeah, and the chiseled bods.
For sure.
Oh man, my friend. So, just anybody wondering out there, I laminated my notes to do this properly. So, we're ready to rock and roll here.
I laminated my nuts.
So I want to start, Dave Troy, with one word, unless you got something you'd like to get in the first word.
No, go ahead.
My word is trifecta.
Trifecta?
You ready?
The
Pick
Triple
'em.
Crown.
Pick 'em. 3-point contest, champion.
This is the year, Mark Cole.
It's going to be hard for somebody. You can't top it unless we add in some other competition. You get 4 of them.
True.
The superfecta. But, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be topping that one for a while. You got to do all 3 and win all 3 in the same year. It's a tall task, my friend.
It is.
The stars aligned for whatever reason. I'm not even taking credit for most of them. But, you know, I want to start off by saying, too, like, just taking the game out of it, there was an excellent energy and vibe on championship night.
I agree.
Great attendance. And also, it's not just people showing up, to be honest with you, because people come and go, whatever. It's like people are into it, you know. Yeah. I felt like, I don't know what you were feeling on the other side, on the other bench.
No, I mean, I agree with you. It was nice to see people come up there that just wanted to watch the game. There were a lot of, I mean, definitely more than we've had in any other night, which is kind of expected. I think everybody was expecting it to be probably a better game than what actually happened, but it was cool. It was nice to see everybody go out there, and it's always fun to go out afterwards and celebrate the season, win or lose. I mean, it is fun at the end of the year to just have one last kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was the attendance from the league in general is key. That's what makes it work. Those are the guys who actually should give a shit anyway because they even know what the fuck's going on. There was a lot of family and friends up there, like, you know, more than usual. My wife got up there for the first time in probably 10 years.
Yep.
Like, easily. It's been that long. I think actually, the last time they were there is when Kaylee, my oldest, was a baby. So she just turned 7. So
there you go.
That's how little my wife gives a shit about this, if anybody's wondering how my home life is. She knows it's a waste of time. And here she is, you know, when we told her what we were doing tonight, she got a good chuckle out of it.
I'm sure she did.
And told us we're complete losers, but nothing we haven't heard before.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, this isn't even the dumbest idea we've ever had. So
people are just fucking jealous. You know?
I think so.
They're sitting at home. You guys can't even see how good we got it, man. That was a beautiful night. We got about a bucket of cold beer here in the hot tub. Got these sweet hats on.
I got the anal jet.
The Suns and the chicken nuggets are squaring off on a TV that we can see right over here. So when Troy gets tired of hearing me talk, he can just watch the game.
Oh, I just zone out.
Which I'm sure what you're doing at home anyway, when we're usually doing this. But all right, so you know we'll cover a little bit about the game, just general thoughts. You know, I get into the nitty gritty because I thought it was actually a very strategic game. It wasn't like a fluky game in the sense where one team kind of just played way above average, and that just was a runaway train. I thought there was decisions that mattered. So I want to get into that stuff, your thoughts, how you guys prepped for it, how it turned out, how it went wrong, I guess. But, you know, a couple other things. One, I did want to say thank to a few other people, everybody who joined in the three-point contest. Thanks for coming out. That was cool. Thanks to the Hall of Fame guys who fucking came out. And a major, I would say, MVP of the night outside of the actual basketball that was played was Pat Ash.
Oh, yeah.
Not us hooking us up with the club was fucking perfect. I
really
want to do some other events there. Very cool. It's right down the street from my house. Even easier for me. But also, him running that HatchetBall flag is a memory I'm just going to hold in my heart for a long, long time.
Yeah, that was awesome.
My man Pat. That's a yearly thing for sure. So, you know, before I get into my tirade, I got lots of notes, my friend, on the game. Talk me through how Blue prepared for the game, matchups. You know, what were your thoughts after having played us not too long ago and winning that game? What were you expecting, and what did you actually see?
Yeah. So we had a lot of conversation, like on a text thread, about what we thought, what we should do. The first thing was that we were just talking about defensive matchups. That was basically the only thing we discussed. And the biggest question mark really was like, is Justin going to guard you, or is Justin going to guard Bradley, or is he going to guard Christian? Like, you know, it was kind of like up in the air. We were talking about a lot of different scenarios. I don't remember who guarded you the game that we actually won against you.
Conrad did.
Conrad? Okay. So, I guarded Carly that game.
Right.
And I said I wanted to try and guard him again. And part of that is because I didn't want to have Justin be super tired on offense. And that was a lot of it. If I can just try and at least keep my body in front of Carly and keep him from getting too many offensive rebounds, I thought we had a chance to win the game. So that was the one matchup that I really wanted to take. And I don't think it was a terrible result. It obviously wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. Then the other part was the thought was to put Justin on you, because I was thinking that maybe his length would help alter you from shooting, and put Conrad on Christian. Ultimately, we ended up going with Justin, I believe, on Bradley, so that he could help with rebounding. And Bradley is obviously talented, but he's not gonna run around a ton on offense and keep you exhausted. So that was part of that decision. Then we wanted Conrad on you again, to just try and, you know, he can be quite the hound on defense. And we thought Tim Glover on Christian to try and put a little bit more speed and effort into that one, and then have Joe guard
Kyle probably then.
Kyle, yeah. I think it also ended up being that Joe ended up guarding Bradley for a lot of the game too, though. And so we kind of had some switches and things that obviously didn't work out to our favor, but that was kind of the plan, at least in advance. And offensively, it was pretty much no secret. We wanted Justin to kind of take over the game, and he played a hell of a game. We just gave him no help. So that was at least the beginning of it.
Interesting.
Why?
Well, you know, so part of the matchups, right, is A, who do we want to match up with, and also guessing who we think you guys will match up. So it's like two things going on at the same time.
Yeah, we did that too. And
for trying to guess, I was convinced, because I thought it worked well last time, you guys would match up the same way. Conrad's obviously, he can obviously stay connected with me outside, so I can't get too much open shots would be the idea. But also he's strong enough to battle down low. It's not like I could just bury him in the post every single time. He would have been fine. I thought you guys would go with that again. And I think you did. Conrad started on me, but at some point it switched and Justin guarded me for most of the second half for sure. Yeah. I think even part of the first. So I don't know why that change occurred, to be honest, because it's not like I was going off or something. And it probably took Justin further out of the paint, to be honest, too. So I don't know if I loved it. But I liked, it wasn't even that. That was more like Conrad just has to play me even. He has to like win that matchup overall, score more than me, and that's a win for sure overall, because we're going to struggle to score outside of that. But Justin on Christian, I thought was really important last time you guys played us. He's tall enough to keep Christian a little bit more out of the paint. Christian's he's strong too. He's not just quick and athletic. He's strong, so he can get into smaller defenders, I think, in a more powerful way than people give him credit to. And if he gets that separation, especially when he chests into people and you're bouncing off him, he's going to get layups and shit. I think that happened a little bit. But, it did come down to, when I saw those matchups, I was still happy for him. I didn't think we had any advantage if it was those two matchups, Conrad and Justin, because I was like, if they stay on the perimeter against me and Christian, that means it's going to be you, and I thought Joe, basically battling against Carly and Bradley. And I told them both two things. Number one, fucking get your asses down there, and when one goes up, make sure the other one is still pinched in so you guys can attack. But I also told them they have no responsibilities for getting back in transition. Obviously that was a big part of what we wanted to do was try to stem your guys' transition, which worked so well all season. A part of the way to do that, you might just say, don't crash the boards. Everybody fucking go back. And I think teams have fucking done that too often against you guys. And trying to do that, I told you, it's like the games you had 20 rebounds, it was like you all alone under the basket. A lot of them, it was like, why is nobody attacking this? The blue's leaking out. Someone's got to get down there. So we tried to split the difference. And again, the instruction was Carly and Bradley, fucking do your thing, what you're best at. And me, Christian, and Kyle will do our best to get back, especially my bad. I was like, I'll just try to stop the ball. I'll do take fouls, whatever I need to do. I won't give them any easy ones. And actually thinking back, I know that I wrote this down. I think the only clear transition bucket we gave up, it was either going to be off of a quick leak or a turnover. So, right, that's the other side of it. In the first half, Pete Les turned it to me across, and Justin poked it out. I think he dunked it or whatever. But that was really it. Other than that, you guys didn't really break out for an easy layup that could have got somebody going. Turned it in one way or the other. But here's some other extra thoughts just leading into it. So number one, going into it, like the more I looked at it, I thought the matchups were great. I thought it was going to be an even game. It felt comfortable at times. It was never going to be a slaughter. But I felt like these were the two best teams all year. And I really still believe that, even after getting the result. So that's what I want to see. There's been so many years where it was much more anticlimactic. Like the two best teams that we all thought just don't get there for whatever reason. You can have an attendance issue 1 week in the playoffs. You can have an injury at the wrong time, and you just don't fucking do it. So this year, I was happy to have that happen. Here's the alarming stat. You ready? The trio of Conrad, Joe, and Glover, they scored a combined total of 20 points in the championship game, okay? That was the lowest total of the entire season, even for games when they weren't all there.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we all picked the same game to suck, and I'm including myself in that. And it's unfortunate because Justin played really well to a point where he should have opened up a lot of shots for us. And, you guys were obviously comfortable with me shooting threes and stuff, which I get. But Conrad, it didn't feel like Conrad was getting much separation. It didn't feel like he was able to get his shot off. It felt like Tim was getting the same kind of shots that he normally does, except maybe in the lane. You guys did a really good job of collapsing almost anytime anybody got in the paint, and that clogged it up for him a lot more. Joe, I think, just he was getting kind of pounded by Bradley, and I think it took him out of the game for a while. And if your defense, you're kind of feeling like you're letting everything down, it starts getting into your head on the offensive end, and it didn't work out. As far as me, I couldn't hit a shot. The only shot I hit was something that I was like, as soon as I released it, I was like, this is way off, and it just happened to bank in. So. Yeah.
That was great. I did actually forget about that until you reminded me. Listen, no, that's why it's
well,
funny.
that also got us.
That's your only basket was a banker?
It also got us as close as we had been all game. That brought us to within 6.
Yeah, but...
And then you guys pulled away again.
Well, there's two ways to react to that. You go like, oh, shit. No, everything's going against us. They're going to be like, well, come on. They didn't fucking earn that one. No big deal. Like, just stay cool.
Right.
But, yeah, so That trio, though, again, 20, a season low. Average per game, 44 a game. So that's 24 points you're doing without. And that doesn't have you mixed in there at all, to be honest with you. So, so you guys scored 51 points total, which is by far your season low. You averaged 75. So there it is again, 24 points you were doing without. And you lost the game 64-51. In another world where basketball works this way and numbers only matter, score your usual amount, you guys actually win by double digits. Obviously, that's not practical in how this works, but...
This may be a question for later, because I know you still got more to talk about, and I do too, but if we played a 7-game series between the two of us...
Oh yeah.
Do you think first off, do you think it would go 7 games? I'm assuming you'd pick pink, so I don't even care about that, but do you think it would go 7 games, or do you guys think you would close it out before that?
So it's interesting. So, like, again, we didn't win this game. We hit maybe, 2 or 3 outside shots?
Yeah, you guys didn't do what you typically do and shoot a ton of them.
Right, so part of the secret sauce there, then, is everything we did was very sustainable, very repeatable.
Yeah.
Right? The shots we got were very high quality for most of the game.
Right.
So I don't know how you guys, sure, you could do a little bit better than what you got defensively, but I think we're scoring 60, 70 points most of the time, right? Because I just think, like, if we can get to 64 with that version of it, there's going to be a game we do shoot better, right?
Sure.
Or shoot more outside and make it work. So the question is really your offensive upside. In 7 games, of course, you would have some other games that work out. And it's not that, like, I'm thinking of Conrad and Glover specifically, because Joe just didn't get any opportunities.
Yeah.
Conrad did get, especially in the second half, he got loose on, I would say, sort of transition opportunities. He was flaring to the corner a lot, and people were finding him for threes, and he might have hit one of them. You know what I mean? And he missed some of those are the best opportunities he saw a game, but you're not in rhythm because you haven't been scoring and shit like that. So I don't know. I just think our matchups, the big difference, obviously, that has to be pointed out again, is that Bradley wasn't there the first time. It changes the matchups massively. You can't hide anybody at any time because all 5 of our guys are either aggressive playmakers, rebounders, scorers, defenders. At least our starting 5. I mean, we that's why we were successful all year. So I don't know. Like, how does the game play out differently? You guys certainly could have gotten hotter. You could have hit more shots. I get that. But I mean, Justin played just about at the top of his range in terms of shooting. So here's some props to Justin I got in here. He scored 28, and he also set the record for most points by a player in a single playoffs with 86 total points.
Oh.
One final shout out to Stephen Jones' Supernova. So he had 80 in 2 games. Unfortunately, Justin's going to hold the record because he played 3 games with 86. Still no slouch, and it's going to be a tough one to beat regardless of who you are. You got to play all 3 games to get there for sure. But so about Justin, how we guarded. Almost all of Justin's points came from the outside, for the most part. He hit probably in 28. He probably had 5 or 6 threes. The majority of his damage, I'm just saying. It's not like he was getting downhill with a ton of buckets
at
the rim.
2 threes. I remember that too. So he had 6 free throws just off the 3-pointers.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So.
But he still made 5 or 6.
Yeah,
threes,
no,
I want to say. So you're right. 20 of those points are from the perimeter, right?
Yeah.
And so part of what we talked about as a team, I'm not taking all the credit for all these deals. They're all crowdsourced or whatever. And I said, look, I don't want us doubling the ball at the perimeter specifically. I just felt like we had Carly guarded Justin, and I said, look, I think Justin's not really a step-back shooter. He actually shoots from a standstill incredibly well. He kind of faces up, waits for you, and he knows he's taller and can get the shot off anyway. If you don't come all the way out, he'll basically just rise up and shoot it. Yeah. And I told Carly, I'm like, let's live with those to a degree. And if he tries to pick a shoulder and get around you, that's when you use your strength and get in front of him and hedge him off. But I said specifically, I don't want us doubling on the perimeter, because what that would lead to is those mega wide open threes that Glover's gotten in a few games in the past. Conrad picking and choosing when he wants to take those from the wing, right, on a quick turn. I didn't want those opportunities. I wanted our help coming when the guy got to the lane, and that's exactly what we did for the most part. So, like, finally Bradley would step up, you know what I mean, off of Joe or whatever. But it was already kind of mucky. Like, it's kind of too tight to make that little post drop-off pass. And we had hands all over the place. We blocked a lot of shots, got our hands on a lot of, you know, tip balls and things like that. So, I mean, to me, it was that strategy that we left Carly alone. We didn't double Justin outside at all. If he went downhill, we did attack, of course, right? But he could deal with it a lot better than your other guys. Like, I think it's,
Justin?
you know, yeah, of course, you know what I mean? Like Conrad, Glover, and Joe. Even Joe's not very. I don't even know how tall Joe is. Is he as tall as us?
He's probably about my height, yeah.
Is he really? He's taller than Tom. You're taller than me, though. I think by a little, but
well, whatever it is.
The point is, when they're in traffic, that's not going to be an easy shot for any of those guys, I don't think. So that's where we want to get them. Where we don't want to leave them, to me, wide open all alone is on the perimeter. So that's what we kind of looked at. So, you know, overall, I don't know. The last thoughts I got on here is that we won it on the defensive end, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's... I don't think you guys played so poorly or had, like, off nights. I think it was really the defensive scheming and effort that got the result. I do. That's why, to segue into your question about just extending the series, if we just play hard and hustle and do the same scheme, what are you guys going to do different? And if the answer is just play better, you know, that ain't an answer.
Well,
Shoot better or shit like that, you know.
In fairness, though, I don't think it was all four of our other starters having terrible games isn't as likely. I mean, it was kind of an outlier. I mean, you already talked about it, that this is what's happened. I give you guys credit. Your defense was really good. It was really tough. It was intense the whole game. But at the same time, like, I do think that over the course of 7 games, that balances out a little bit more. And maybe it doesn't go 7 games, but
I think you guys
like
win at least. You win at least 2.
At least,
but yeah. I think actually the more you play the game we have, the more edge bears out.
I don't necessarily agree, because I think it's harder to keep up that same kind of defensive intensity that you guys had for 7 games.
Oh, totally disagree. That's the only thing that was consistent about us. We scored all different types of ways through the season. Like, that's the part that was scattershot, that we didn't have a regular way to really score. Some nights it was me, some nights it was Christian, some night we just only went in the post, random shit. Defensively, I thought we were dead on. What is it?
Dead on?
Dead on, Bulls accurate. What is it from my cousin Vinny? Dead on, Bulls accurate. It's an industry term.
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but the other issue, though, for us was you guys jumped out to a lead right away. Like, I mean, you
Yes.
fucking blitzed us.
Yes.
And it was like if you're in a fight and you get hit in the face right away and you're kind of like trying to catch yourself.
You saying you want to fight me right now?
And we couldn't. I mean, we never really got much closer than that first 3 minutes where you guys were up like 7-0. We missed shots. You guys got offensive rebounds, which was the one thing that, like, I was talking about the most. Like, we got to limit them to 1 shot. And I still believe that if we can limit you guys to 1 shot, I think we had a really good chance to win. But we weren't
Easier
able
said
to
than
do
done.
that. Of course.
Yeah, because that's less of a scheme thing. That is purely
effort.
either like, well, it's you have to bring the effort. That's a
Right.
given. If you're not going to do that, forget it.
Right.
But also there's an athleticism aggression gap
Yeah,
that sometimes you can't make up.
I agree. I mean, it's all hypothetical in certain ways, but that was like my thing is try and limit the offensive rebounds for you guys. And it didn't happen, but the 7-point start from you guys was kind of like, it wasn't even that it was too much to overcome, but because of your defense, we never really got on a run that made it close enough where we could either take a lead or tie it up or any of that stuff. And I think almost every team in every game has had a stretch where they slipped. And you guys really didn't have that in this game, where we couldn't get it rolling. Even when Justin was shooting as well as he was basically just keeping us in the game. And again, we didn't give him enough help, and more than anything, I feel bad for that, because it felt like Justin, especially in the playoffs, did more than he is normally doing, and we couldn't help him out enough to actually get him that championship. I mean, what he did against Chris was obviously amazing, and
great
game.
Green. Yeah, he scored a shitload of points the first week. I mean, he showed out. He earned, reaffirmed, we'll say, or reconfirmed, I don't know what it is. Right. You know, his position as 1 or 1A. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Still got to get it done. Now, 2 quick thoughts. One is, I want to be clear about this. Early in the season, when we were dealing with the Marcus Stevenson fiasco, I floated the idea, and I volunteered it first. It's not like he thought of the idea, but I said, look, we'll see how the Marcus thing sorts out. I said, I know the replacement player would be Conrad, because he expressed interest or whatever. Yeah. So my only point is, and I told Justin this, Justin kept asking, like, hey, why don't we get Conrad? You know, forget Marcus and all this shit. He got the player he wanted, and he asked for it. And if it doesn't go your way, it has to feel like a missed opportunity. As great as he played, he's got to be regretful that they couldn't get it done, you know, for a variety of reasons. It's never that easy. It's not like you get one fucking right pick and you just fucking get there.
No, I agree.
I mean, to be honest, we were the right type of team that could deal with. I think your team was special. I still think that, you know, in the grand scheme, especially offensively, it's still going to go down as one of the better offensive teams, you know, that's put together. I think as seasons move forward, we're going to think back and be like, shit, man, when these guys all played together, they couldn't fucking figure it out, you know? And to me, it's not less an indictment of you guys blowing it or not being as good as we thought. It's just like, I think our team was similarly special in a way that through the draft, I don't think anybody's been able to replicate that type of well-balanced, defensive-minded, you know, high IQ, experienced basketball players. And I have some other questions. Like, I'll point it out. Like, so there was the trade, right? And we can talk a little bit more about that or whatever as the lasting impact on that. And if that doesn't happen, what happens? You know? Okay, we'll talk about that. But you know, it was drafting really the 2 biggest difference makers. Harley, at the end of the day, was my first rounder. Technically, I was the first rounder. I get it, but he played like a first rounder, right? He didn't all of a sudden score 28 a game, you know what I mean, and become an outside shooter. He played like exactly what I expected out of him, you know, as great as that is. I don't want to undermine it, but it's that I was able to get Christian and Bradley, where I did in the wraparound at the end of the third. And we don't need to tip our hands necessarily. I know there's not consensus quite yet. But the fact that Christian in specific went that low, the league did it to themselves. I mean, you guys let us assemble the team.
The Bradley one I fully agree with, because I do think that I think Bradley is one of those guys that you want on your team because he's going to hustle, he's going to play tough defense, he's going to rebound. He doesn't want to take a ton of shots. So, like, what is there to not like about him? I mean, he's a great effort player.
He whines a lot.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I think that one ref does not like Bradley, and I do think he like calls some questionable shit on him, but not Mark, the other ref.
No, Mark only goes after Rob. That's
right. Yeah, you know, everybody knows it's Rob. But with Christian, I think a lot of that has to do with how you played the previous year. And I'm not saying Christian had a bad year. And in fact, I've said this to you and I've said it to other people. We played in that Pavilion League, and Christian came up there, and Christian was the best player on our team. I mean, he was scoring it felt like 30 a game. He was stopping, hitting a bunch of shots.
Yeah. In
transition, a lot of threes, a lot of good twos. On Team Yellow, where he played the first year, he took a lot of like mid-range shots that just were not smart shots. And I think everybody kind of looked at it as like, we're not sure we want this guy who's just going to shoot. He didn't do that this year. He was much more of a facilitator. He would, especially in this game, he was really attacking the basket. He made it really difficult to get down there. You guys had the whole like lane clogged up, and he was still finding ways to get past. And you can't rotate off Carly, you can't really rotate off Bradley, so
Right.
you're just hoping that whoever's guarding Christian can stay in
And
front
that's
of
the
him.
key. And so to me, that's what I saw through was he is a rhythm scorer.
Yeah.
Put it that way, right? So up at Oaklawn, those games are free flowing.
Yeah.
Everybody's shooting immediately.
Yep.
Lots of, he plays well in that open court.
Yeah, you killed it.
I mean, and he in those games that we had him as a sub, he played great. He's in rhythm, hitting the drives, hitting the outside shots. These games can get mucky real quick,
Yeah.
right? And it's a different type of scoring when you can produce when you don't have that touch, the shots aren't falling, the refs are giving you the calls, you got a tough defender on you, it's a bad matchup for you. But what I saw out of him, like, he was still, I just last year, even on yellow, as they were, fucking teams didn't even make the playoffs, I know that. And I think he was the second rounder. No, maybe Carter was. So maybe he went.
Carter probably was.
Anyway, but, so put it that way. He was drafted in the third round for sure last year, right?
Yeah.
And he actually went down in the draft, even though we lost the whole second round of talent.
But again, I think that has a lot to do with the way he played.
I think it's crazy. Because again,
Fine.
but to finish the point though, that's maybe will come and go with the rhythm score, right? So for all those reasons, some nights he scored 30, other ones he was in the single digits. Okay, so how do you square that up? Is he inconsistent or negative to your team when you can't count him for crazy points? All the other shit was good. I think good defense. He's an underrated rebounder. That just pressing the ball and attacking the rim when we were going to have Carly and Bradley there, like you said, you can't help off them. Also, if you even move at all and he misses any of those layups
Right,
at the rim, they're right fucking there. It's sometimes it's as good as the pass, you know what I mean, to leave those shots off. Good thing I laminated this bad boy.
Woo! Wet notes.
Anyway, I thought it was a huge underdrafted position, and I was right. I don't see any other way. And it's still crazy to me that you're sharing your sentiments. I've heard it from other captains, other people in the league that still aren't quite sure about him in specific. And I'm like, all right, okay, whatever.
He reminds me a lot.
Maybe I'll draft him lower
well,
then.
He reminds me a lot of Brian Lyle, though. Like, Lyle on the right team
And Lyle went
would
in the
be really
second
good.
round
Again. Yeah.
right?
Which everybody was like making fun of him as a second round.
But you look
pick
at
the first
them
year.
and you think Christian, the league in general, all the captains, this is not you or me or anything, the league deemed him as a full round less value than Brian Lyle.
I think the league probably, maybe not. I can speak for myself because I didn't draft him and I had the opportunity to. My thought was, I don't know that I would like playing on the same team as him with Justin. I didn't know how those two would match up together, so I didn't draft him because of that reason.
So you drafted a 40-year-old dead person.
No, that was the second round pick.
Right, as running mate, as Justin's running mate. You chose a dead person.
I've always loved Marcus Stevenson, so I didn't get my chance to play with Steigerwald because I was an idiot, so I didn't want to blow it with Marcus. But in any case, I don't know if the rest of the league feels the same way, like in terms of just misjudging the talent, or if it's just they saw the same kind of like randomness to his game that I saw when he was on yellow, and they didn't want to draft him.
Well, so here's the good thing about draft leagues in general is it's all kind of like groupthink. So meaning that like if we were wrong, we're wrong together and we fix it together, right?
Sure.
So like like if this was truly an outlier and I shouldn't have gotten him there, then he will move up in the draft and the market will correct itself, right? So it won't.
That's another question I have.
And you guys will have to prove me wrong in some capacity. Like if he dropped again, I would certainly take him in the exact same position, of course. And
no, he deserves to be drafted by the third round at the latest. I mean, within the third round.
Of course. I mean,
depending on who comes.
Of course, all the other variables. We have to hold some constants that if it's the same talent pool, Kyle Garm suggested we do a full redraft, and I was like, well, I don't know, let's pump the brakes on that. We'll address a few questions on that front, but last few thoughts on the game for memory's sake. Calling them my flashbulb moments. Christian, we were just talking about, diving on, he was on the sideline in front of our bench, diving on a loose ball, and he was lounging around the ground, and he didn't even get it. He was actually out of bounds, but it was just an unbelievable effort. It was cool to see that, completely laid out. Pete Les stripping Tim Glover in the first half, going right down the middle of the lane, and then collecting the ball like fucking Kawhi Leonard. That's good stuff. Mike Sterna getting loose on the fast break for a travel and a bucket finish. 2 buckets, I believe, in total. Good fucking stuff. Bradley just eviscerating Joe Vasic's shot into the wall, also in the first half. And then in the second half, I felt like Carly chased down 3 loose balls in the corner. I don't know if you remember this. That led to extra possession. I don't even know if we scored on them all. But he was just aggressively, he wouldn't give up on any of those offensive rebounds. They were way going outside of the paint, and he was still hunting them down and getting to the ball to try to save them. Just random memories from the game. Good stuff.
I would disagree that it's good stuff for me, but random memory is fine. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't remember. I remember a lot of what you're talking about, but and look, I know I'm a shitty basketball player. There's not like something.
Troy's been binging ever since. That's why he doesn't remember anything.
Yeah.
He's been literally trying to erase it.
I've been crying every night, but
I can't stop crying.
I tend to remember more of the shit like that I do wrong, which just eats away at me for weeks at a time. And I can remember even at the very first tip-off, like we warmed up at the correct baskets. We started out at the same baskets, but we went the wrong way of our benches. And I looked, and I was behind Bradley, and for whatever reason, I thought that you guys went the wrong way to start the game. And I paused, and then Chris Carly was open underneath the basket immediately for the very first thing, and I was just mentally I was out of it from the very first second of it.
So that'll be my third. This you reminded me. Someone was going to say a few comments ago, and I lost it. That'll be the third example. To start the game, it wasn't like that all the game. You guys did seem a little rattled.
So
if you're saying you couldn't even lost your bearings for a second, Joe missed a couple layups right at the rim, and I just felt like they were bad misses. Yeah. Pretty open. There was no reason he should have yanked them the way he did. And I was like, he's feeling it. He's putting too much pressure on himself. Probably that's why I missed him. Yeah. And then I felt Glover was just less confident and assertive in the way he really was. And when he didn't do it early, he almost didn't do it at all. Yeah. Again, it wasn't like anybody just hit major fumbles or turnovers and shit constantly, throwing up air balls like fucking crazy. It was more like just a lack of the usual aggression.
And part of that comes from being down, too.
You did to yourself, though.
I understand.
To a degree.
But I'm saying, the only other thing I would mention, though, and this isn't a complaint, it's just it was unexpected. We were all ready for the tip-off, and then you started doing your speech, and we were all like, what the fuck's happening here?
Oh, come on.
I swear to God, all of us were, because even Justin was like, well, I'm going to go warm up again if he's talking. And then we realized there's the Hall of Fame thing, so we stopped him from shooting around. Not that it affected him.
The national anthem I chose was a little long. I remember that. I was like, come on, let's speed this up a little bit. I really just wanted Pat to do his run with the flag, so if you guys dare complain about that one.
I'm not, again, not a complaint. It was another thing that kind of threw it off. It is what it is. We lost the game.
You know what players in the NBA go through? How much fucking distractions they have to get over?
But you also, during the
This
Super Bowl,
is more serious than the NBA.
Well, that's true. But during the Super Bowl, they, Bill Belichick has them practice with louder music and taking longer breaks because of the halftime is longer.
Oh, he's so smart.
He is smart.
He's smart. He's smart. He's up in New England. He's in Massachusetts, and he's smart.
Regardless, doesn't matter. It wouldn't have changed the outcome, but...
Goddamn right, it would have been worse if I didn't give you guys a little break to mentally prepare yourself.
All right.
Let's be honest. Conrad was going to be bricked after I beat him in the three-point contest. He was going to be rattled. You were going to be rattled because you knew you were facing the top dog.
No.
And there was just too much history on my side. It wasn't going to happen for you.
Well. Yeah, fine, whatever. Either way, it was a fun season. As I told my guys, this was probably one of my favorite teams I've ever had, and even probably is my favorite team. We got to the championship with Team Green, which was cool in its own way because we were in the dome, and we had Jim Schick and we had Luke, and they both backed out because of COVID. and we ended up making it to the championship anyways, which was nice. But this team, like, I mean, I genuinely enjoyed playing with all of them. It seemed like we all enjoyed each other. It's unfortunate it ended this way. You know, I do think we would have killed Yellow if we played them. That's for you, Matt B, by the way.
Fuck Matt V, I'm with you on that.
I don't think they would have stood a chance against us, even with Steven playing out of his mind. Because we probably would have just sold out to let anybody else beat us other than him.
And this is how it goes. All this shit will be forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
So, the trade that Carly's even on my team, Conrad was a replacement on yours, or that Jones went off and we just barely beat him by 2 in the semifinals, it'll be forgotten.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters is
that ring.
How many rings you got.
But
that's the only, I do have to share, the only bad news about me winning yet again for my 6th ring is, I can't pay for this stuff out of my own money. I got 3 kids. I've got a mortgage. I got to pay for this hot tub. And, you know what I mean? And this beer we're drinking.
Yeah.
And my laminator to put
laminator was
for my notes.
An unnecessary expense.
But we're going to have to raise the player fee next year because I have to get my ring case enlarged. So, sorry about that, guys, but everybody's going to have to eat the cost on that one.
That's true, yeah.
Might have to get like a bank vault, where you can walk into it to hold all the accolades and
like in
trophies.
Those movies where you go in with 2 keys and they have to unlock them.
That's right.
You're going to go in there and there aren't going to be any rings in there and everybody's going to go, he's got no proof.
Just want to get a briefcase handcuffed to my wrist for once.
Yeah. It does feel like a missed opportunity for us, unfortunately. That's one of those ones that you just got to deal with, though.
Perhaps a missed one, but there's more, right?
Oh, of course.
There's fucking more, so.
But I was going to ask you this because we were talking about the redraft stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of got away from it. We'll just stick with the 5 starters because I think it could go beyond that as well. But the 5 starters, out of the 10 of them, how many of them do you think moved up? And obviously it's pretty impossible for Justin to move up. He was 2nd. You could draft him first, but I think you're still taking Chris over Justin.
You want the 10 players, 10 starters in the championship game, draft value.
Yeah, so for example, here,
Let's do blue. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so...
Do your side first, and I'll tell you if I agree.
Okay, so Justin, you can't really move. No change.
Unless we change the players.
Yes, but okay,
which we're considering doing, so we'll see. But
yeah, fine. But we'll call it no change for Justin.
Correct.
All right. Then you had, we'll call Conrad 2nd round. I think Conrad is still a 2nd rounder. I don't know if he would be first.
High second round.
High 2nd, yep.
Right. And he wasn't technically drafted low.
Right.
I think he would have been drafted high 2nd anyway if he was in the player pool originally.
I agree.
So I think it's no change.
I think Matt Cole probably would have taken him.
100% over Richie, who he didn't know. No offense to Richie, he would have taken Conrad.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Joe Basic.
Joe was taken in the
3rd round. Does he stay? Does he go down? You got to assume player pool is the exact same.
I think he'll stay in the 3rd. I might differentiate a little bit where he should be drafted in the 3rd round.
Like later on?
Potentially.
Okay.
Maybe a slight dip.
Fine.
He wasn't drafted super low. He was drafted high in the 3rd.
Yeah, he was the 2nd pick of the 3rd round.
Right. So he was not underdrafted.
No,
I would say that. So.
Though.
He played great too. But
yeah, the day after the draft, you guys told me that his comp was Mike Sternum, and that was way off.
What we were told.
Yeah. I was like, that does not match the description.
We were told. We'll share that. We don't need to name names, but we were told that Joe was overdrafted.
Yes. Significantly.
Joe was not overdrafted.
No.
I think he was very close to where he should. Maybe it's like correction based on personnel and team fit. That's the knock against him is he's fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You put him on a team where you're expecting him to do more outside shooting, dribbling, ball handling, you might feel like you're getting not what you need.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, on your team, he had pretty low responsibilities and made the most of it in a big way. You know what I mean?
He was really efficient.
So maybe that's part of the story too, is we don't know. We haven't really seen him. Can he do more? We don't fucking know. I don't know. Yeah, so when we played you guys the first time before you had Conrad, Joe had like 20-something points, hit like 4 or 5 threes. I'm like, what the fuck? Where the fuck does this guy come from? And then he basically didn't take a three for the rest of the season.
And
So go figure.
all right, so me, I would say 4th round is still fine. Maybe I get dropped down. And Tim, I think, will move up in the draft from 5th round.
100%, yeah. Yep. Tim is going to go high. He's a fit guy as well.
Yep.
Right. Size is the problem. But he can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he's almost like a better version of Jerry in some ways.
To be honest with you, he was the one who surprised me the most that really underperformed. I didn't think that his aggressive nature, I thought, would just puts him in a position to create opportunities.
Yeah.
Easy ones, a lot of times. And the fact that he just couldn't make that magic happen was a surprise.
Yeah.
All right, so how about Pink then?
So
I'm 3rd round probably.
Probably 3rd. I mean, you're going to stay
Just after
late.
Christian, apparently.
You'll stay late 1st or early 2nd, whatever it is. I'm sure if you get like the 1st overall pick, you'll just trade back anyways.
Yep.
But Carly, I think, obviously stays where he is. 1st round.
So
Late
he's
second.
the first one. I would disagree in the sense when you look at the guy, it's not just player talent stack rankings. It is what the captain's perception of it.
Sure.
Also, the captain has to play with this person.
Sure.
That's what makes the thing a little more challenging. So it's not drafting a guy doesn't mean you think that guy is worse. It means that the captain thinks for some reason you're worse than his team. You know, and I think Carly is the absolute quintessential example of that. I don't need to name certain guys, but there's guys in the 1st round I think are going to drop, not because they're bad basketball players, because captains will not value them as highly.
I agree.
And I think by default, and also because Carly's earned it, he will move up.
Oh, he's going to be in the 1st round. I don't think there's a question.
Higher than late 1st round. I think mid 1st round is absolutely where he's going to land. Somebody will decide, I'd rather have a fucking rock solid sure thing like him to start my team around.
I could agree. I mean, him and Rob would be a really good combination. Him and you, obviously.
How is he going to be on Rob's team?
Because well, I guess Rob will be a 1st rounder still.
He will be. He's not getting on Rob's team. He was even this year. He wasn't supposed to be on my team.
I mean, you could trade again,
Sure.
but whatever. There's not really a bad fit for him in terms of any of the captains. I think. But, maybe me, because I mean.
All right, who's next?
That wouldn't be good, but
Christian.
Christian
was a fucking mid to high 2nd rounder in terms of value this year. He played like it all year. Now, I'm not saying
I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm not saying it is going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying every captain's taste is going to be the same, but I'm telling you how he played this year. On a team that we fit together well, right? Just to his advantage, to all of our advantages. But because that's always the question you got to ask yourself: are they? Because maybe he's the best example of this. Yellow, horrible fit. Team didn't work out, and everybody had low, stock value in him. Gets a really good fit and works out great. So which player is he? And more importantly, which player is he going to be on your team that you're putting together? And here's the other trick. He's higher round, obviously, whatever it is, 2nd or 3rd. You're drafting him before you really know the rest of your team. You might know you're going to know your 1st round, so it's even tougher. He's a player who, depending on who your 4th and 5th are, you might think more highly of him and want him more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to me, when I knew I was going to get Bradley, and I was going to have Carly, I didn't know I was going to have Carly. I shouldn't say that. I thought our team was going to be me and Chuck. And I go, once it's 3rd and 4th, I need fucking athletes who can defend.
Yeah.
Right? I felt it was a godsend that Christian and Bradley were both that, and they were offensive players too. In maybe limited capacities, not whatever, but...
I wouldn't call either. Well, I wouldn't call Christian limited offensively. Just like Carly's not limited offensively. I mean,
they are both, and
they're very specific.
This is not
players.
knock on either of them. They are not even average, in my opinion, at the most important skill in basketball.
Shooting.
3-point outside shooting.
I don't agree with you about Carter.
See, this is where it gets fucking tricky. So, take someone like our mega fan Felipe.
Yeah.
Well, basically the only thing he's shown so far is that he's an ace open shooter.
Yep.
He got drafted in the 7th round, huge value there. That's not what we're disputing. But, the fact that he isn't giving you defense, rebounding, playmaking, transition, okay,
right.
Well, how much can a player who can't shoot at that high a level make up that delta with all the other shit?
Yeah.
And to me, that's Christian. He had a couple games where he was hot from his jump shot, some where he didn't really shoot many at all, other ones he was cold, but that's not his primary skill. It's not even his primary focus, in his game. Oh man, we've been outlasting the bubbles.
Oh man.
This is nice.
About to see some boners.
All right, so
let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
You got the bubbles back?
Yeah, sure. Hit the one on the right, all the way on the right.
This one?
Yeah, that one. How long have we been doing this? What's the clock say up there?
I think
3 hours.
I think it just hit the hour mark. The Suns somehow are down 30 at halftime, just like they were last year against the Mavs.
Indeed, most indeededly.
Bunch of bums.
All right, my friends. So, last content of the year. We got a couple mailbag submissions. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
And I can't read these for shit. I kind of know what they are, and they're similar to some things we've already been talking about. So our first submission of the night comes from Team Green captain Kyle Garms.
Kyle Garms.
Let's say there was no trades, no quitters, and no replacement players. Let's even say Jerry doesn't get hurt, so no major injuries that matter at all. Everyone has the roster that was on the asbestos-filled Jerry Hahn chalkboard. Who wins it all?
It's a good question. I would like to say my own team, because obviously Conrad is a huge upgrade over Marcus, but we still had 4.
This guy's still a believer in Marcus.
I am. But we still had...
Confirmed deceased. Never showed up.
But my point is we had 4 solid guys. Green obviously played really well. Dan Henry and Poncho, I think, are close enough that they could be similar. I don't know that we necessarily beat Green without Conrad. I think your team would be a lot different, but I still think would be talented. Your defense wouldn't be the same.
Oh, of course not.
And your rebounding obviously wouldn't be the same. You guys would probably score a hell of a lot more points just based off Chuck, but I think your scoring goes down if Chuck's on your team. Orange would be better, but I still don't think Orange would necessarily make. I guess Orange would probably make the playoffs. Black still sucks.
Orange would have really struggled to score.
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck poured it in this season.
Yeah.
On some empty calories, not a ton of meaningful buckets, and whatever. But obviously they didn't win any games. But I mean,
But Carly makes a huge difference for a team. So
he makes up for it. Why would I make the trade if I didn't think there was a benefit, right?
I understand. I understand that. Yellow is pretty much the same team. So maybe because Steven played so damn well that they could get to the championship. White missed Chris Cole and Stan for their playoff game.
That's right.
I would think that they at least put up a better fight against Yellow. Maybe it goes the same way.
Certainly.
I would say it would be green versus blue in the championship to me. I think purple probably would be better. They'd be better defensively, but their team still didn't have much offense outside of Aderman. Lyle put in a ton of points in the games where there were 5 guys, but that's not like his best role.
I'd rather do this in order that Green, as drafted, was quickly going downhill.
Oh, they were losing a ton of games.
So in the first couple games they had won,
yeah,
but they were massive leaks where they were letting teams come back in and big leads. They were up on us by 15 in that game where they shot lights out and we fucking trounced them in the second half.
Yep.
And then they lost a couple games after that, and all of a sudden Dan left and they got Poncho and they went on like a ridiculous end of the season. I don't think that team was going anywhere. I think, and I thought this as of draft night, he overdrafted O'Malley, Henry, and Freddie.
Oh, Freddie for sure. O'Malley, I think for sure.
I mean, I thought those were all bad picks relative to
Henry
what else was
second?
out there. Huh?
Henry was second round.
It was the wraparound in the second, third.
Second, O'Malley and Henry.
So pick them either way you want. I didn't think you should have taken either of them.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I'm not saying they're bad players, and they were certainly useful, but that shit was not working about a month into the season in a bad way, it felt like.
For sure.
So not a believer in that team. Your team, we'll never know. It's the hardest to gauge because you never got your original player.
Right.
So what does Marcus look like? We can still debate until the end of time. Maybe we'll see next year, and we can revisit this question if anybody wants to take a gamble on that.
I'll draft him again.
I'll draft him in the 8th round, sure. Because then if he doesn't show up, I just have one less player taking up minutes.
Yeah.
That's the strategy.
Our
That's what a
team-
pro does, not take him in the 2nd round and pin all your hopes and dreams on him.
Our team was still good. You know, and this is probably me still thinking like, oh, it's high school Marcus. But for sure he was overdrafted by me, but I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I didn't want anybody else to get him. So I took him.
He admits it now, here, live on the HatchetBall
I love Marcus.
video podcast.
Love Marcus.
I grew up with him. He's a good bro, but shit, man, I don't fucking trust him.
Well,
Like I wouldn't loan him money.
never see him again.
Yeah, he's dead. You're never gonna see him again. So, the next couple teams. So, purple. Here's what's interesting. I've started the highlight reel process for our group that I make every year. And that requires me to rewatch a lot of the games, right? Looking for snippets that I cut in these highlight reels. I watched white versus purple, and it was the game Jerry got hurt.
Okay.
Here's a little bit of revisionist history, but purple was up by 10 in that game a few minutes before Jerry got hurt in the second half. White ended up winning the game by 20. I think purple, we forget, started the year like 3-1.
Yep, they did.
And it felt really fluky. Even at the time, we're like, well, I don't know how good this team is.
Yeah.
But they weren't really falling apart,
No, they weren't.
right, until Jerry was gone and there was attendance issues and other things going on. I'm not saying they were a contender. I'm saying that team would have been a different force, for sure.
They would have been more of a challenge.
Because
I don't think they would
I
win the
agree with you,
championship.
like, specifically Lyle turned it on in the second half in a big way. How does that look with Jerry doing Jerry things and Aderman getting less attention?
Yep.
Better, right? I mean, there's something there that, unfortunately, it just didn't happen. Yellow, I'm not going to retrofit what Jones did in 2 games onto what he didn't do in the full season. Not saying he played bad, but he didn't play like that.
No, of course he didn't. He didn't put in 40 each game.
And the guy, I'm gonna be the harshest I'll be on anyone that I don't understand is Finnan. You talk about the first round. How the fuck does he get a free pass?
Yeah.
He was a first rounder.
I agree.
You know, and he averaged, I don't know, 13, 14 points, whatever the fuck it was. Didn't play bad, was just not a big enough difference maker or impact player to merit a first round.
No, he's easily the most disappointing first round draft pick.
You said it.
It's the truth, though.
Yeah,
I like Finnan, but
it is. So who else is in there? So orange and black, you know.
Black didn't lose anybody.
Black played their season, and that's what you got.
Yeah.
So why it didn't work, you know, it's because they didn't play hard enough. In fact, I watched one of those games too, and we talked about this many weeks. They seem so normal compared to the other teams and games you watch. And then all of a sudden, they give up a 15-0 run.
Yeah.
Like clockwork, and it's just like they didn't give a fuck. Like they didn't respond to it, they didn't fight back, they didn't try to stop it, change anything. It's pathetic. They absolutely deserved the dumpster fire season they had. So white, I think, is the only other interesting one. So like my team, in an alternate version, obviously it worked out, no regrets. But I'd love to play with Chuck a year. I mean, that'd be fun to see how we would fit in together.
You guys played well together.
Play
in the
off
pavilion.
each other. I think we could figure it out. We still would have obviously Christian and Bradley and Altenberg rounding out our 5. There's still a lot there, you know.
Yeah.
Even defensively, it's not like we're all of a sudden at some major mismatch without Carly, who does a ton of shit for you out there. So it'll be interesting. I do agree. I don't think we would be the favorite necessarily.
No.
I think Carly was just that X factor. That's our most consistent point. Our defense and rebounding. He was obviously the beacon of light on that front all year long. But White in specific, they're the one that really didn't get a fair shake in the playoffs out of anybody.
For sure.
It's the attendance, but really in the last month, they look like a different team.
Yeah.
Rob, apparently back from the dead, played way better down the stretch.
I mentioned that last year too, though.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
Yeah.
You brought it up like he played his best game of the season, maybe somewhere around the halfway point, and you were like, "Well, here comes Rob. He's going to do it again."
Yeah. He did it last year. It may just be like the consistent playing every week that helps. I don't know.
You get back in shape. You get your touch back.
Yeah.
Catch up to the game. The game slows down. It all works, but. He was playing better, which everybody was feeding off of that. Call out another guy. Just for White, though, it was Carter on the whole season that underperformed. If they would have gotten more out of him more often, I'm not saying he didn't play up games in his moments, but if they got more out of him more often, White, I think, could have been right up there in 1, 2, or 3 as a potential contender. When it's all said and done, I don't even fucking know. I don't even know who I would pick out of that mix.
Yeah.
There's too many diversions to really see that we saw any of the original really play
For
against
sure.
each other. Here's how this is even harder. If Black plays against 4 unimproved teams, so they get to play. No, sorry, it's 3 then. So they wouldn't have to play Pink with Carly, which supposedly made us better. They wouldn't have to play Blue with Conrad, which supposedly made you better. Wouldn't have to play Green with Poncho, which supposedly made them better. Does Black season get a little bit better? Does Orange's season get a little bit better? Not just with Carly, but against technically worse opponents. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just branches out too quick.
I agree.
So. All right, good question, Mr. Garms. He had another one in here. A double dose. Double header.
If you could beat any NBA player.
Yeah, I think it starts, Michael Jordan is 60 years old, and the question was, could we beat Michael Jordan right now as a 60-year-old person? No fucking
Not
way.
a chance.
Absolutely not. And he's asking, is there a current NBA legend? So I think he admits that Michael Jordan's a bad example of this. He would like spit in our faces and shit and step on our heads.
Take it all personal.
The Embiid stomp.
He'd be listening to the podcast going, they didn't mention me. I'm going to take that personal.
So he says, is there a current NBA legend or recognizable name you could beat? A retired player who was good around 25 to 30 years ago.
So
I think I could beat Vin Baker right now.
Vin Baker one-on-one. So 30 years ago, it'd be like the 92 season.
Yeah. First three-peat, right in the middle of that.
I might be able to take Sean Kemp, just because he's so fat now. He could probably still
He's 6'10".
kill me.
Yeah, we're talking one-on-one, I'm assuming.
I would guess.
He doesn't have to run up and down the court. He can just back you down.
Yeah. If
and
it's make it take it, I'm done.
kill you. These guys are all, like, I do think the muscle memory from the shooting does not leave them.
Probably not.
They do it to a degree that they don't lose it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
They could literally pick up a ball 10 years later and still have pretty good form and touch.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe somebody who's dead. I could probably beat them.
You could beat a dead person.
Yeah, probably.
Marcus Stevenson?
Maybe.
Could you beat Marcus Stevenson?
Yeah, maybe.
He was good 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw him when he was 10 years old. He was pretty good.
I don't know. It's no. The answer's no. If you've ever watched, Brian Scalabrine has a video
Yes, I've seen this.
on YouTube, and it's like all these people who are saying they can take him because he's a sucky NBA player, and he just smokes them all. Every single
Well,
one.
tell him the quote. What's his famous quote about that?
I'm
know it.
like the best
No.
bad player or something. I don't know.
No. Brian Scalabrine says, he is closer to LeBron James than you are to him.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
And it's absolutely true.
Uh-huh.
I mean, at the time you're playing, you're one of the best few hundred players on the planet, period.
Yeah.
And there are 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah. Man, look, I suck, so I don't think I'd be able to beat anybody, but
Are we in the top 1% of basketball player talent, you think, in the planet?
probably.
What about those fucking hoopers in China and India?
I think Rucker Park would destroy every single one of our teams, no matter what. So, even if we had an all-star team, they'd probably kick the shit out of our
Really?
out
You
of
sure
our
about
team.
that?
Yeah, I think so.
I played plenty of street ball rec teams in my...
Yeah, you're also fat and old now, so there's a difference.
They would whoop up on us now, for sure.
Ooh, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker.
I don't have any great
19.
answers here. I think they're too good. Yeah, unless they're like infirm. You know what I mean, like broken bodies. Like I heard like Dirk can't even walk anymore.
Oh yeah, that sucks. Man.
Of course, it fucking sucks.
Although you can afford the knee replacements, he'll be fine.
Well, here's one. Like actually, I forgot it and I just remembered it though. So Luke has a story. He was I don't know if he was on a cruise or what. He went to play blackjack, and Mike Bibby sits down and starts playing. I don't know, have you seen Mike Bibby?
Oh, he's jacked.
Yeah, he's like whatever.
He's like a muscle hamster.
You see these guys and they're like, forget it.
Yeah.
Like some of them, it's not like they're athletic fitness freaks for their entire adult life. They don't all just give it up and become geriatric losers. Even Jordan doesn't even look that old.
No.
I mean, like physically.
He's got a pot belly, but that's about it.
Yeah, big deal. Guy's fucking high as the blazes every time you see him. That's for goddamn sure. A good question, Kyle Garms. The answer is no. We're the old losers who can't beat anyone. It's not the other way around.
Not even gonna try and pretend. I don't want to be delusional and old.
Kyle must be feeling himself. He won at Ridge Park, and he's like, man, I'm pretty good.
I beat the shit out of these NBA players.
I'm a pretty good player here. All right, man. The last one of the year, fittingly, will come from our podcast superfan Felipe. It says, first off, congrats to Kamish on the clean sweep Monday night.
Oh my god. Felipe, you're still going to be in the league even if you don't send compliments to him.
No, this helps, Felipe. Maybe I'll throw you on the old Mark Cole team if you want to get in the winner's circle next year. This is a good way to get there. You butter me up. Secondly, I know Troy is second-guessing the 7th round pick from this year. Is that true, yes or no?
I think my 7th round pick was Ali. I wouldn't second-guess that.
You'd rather have Ali than Felipe?
No, but I wouldn't second-guess Ali. Ali was a big addition to our team. He was real good.
He's pointing out that you wanted him bad. You wanted Felipe.
I could have had Felipe if I wanted him, to be honest.
Just
no. Kyle drafted him right in front of me. So I couldn't even second-guess that pick.
Oh, so you're wrong. Sorry, Felipe. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the way it went. No way. Sorry. Wrong, Felipe. He couldn't have had you. He would have had to draft you in the 6th, which next year I'm sure he will.
Oh, he'll go 5th or 6th, I'm sure. Maybe earlier.
He's got to be a starter.
For sure.
As it lays, that's to me that's the dividing point. So that's 5th or better.
Yeah.
And depending on fit, if you really want a fucking ace shooter and you think you can help create shots for him, why the fuck wouldn't you want him?
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's like the yin and yang to Kyle Altenberg basically.
Yeah.
And I took Kyle in the 5th and was very happy with that pick.
Sure. So,
if I needed the other side of Kyle, I'd be really happy with Felipe. All right, last part. It says, lastly, let's get HatchetBall Draft live this upcoming year. Thoughts, Dave Troy?
I already told you before. I don't like it. I don't like the idea. There's too much inside, what do they call it, inside baseball?
Jockeying for position, or influencing, or manipulation.
The weird talks. So first off, there's a draft list that has
insider trading?
Whatever it is. There's a draft list that has descriptions of players, which some are. Oh, never mind. No, I mean there's
cut that.
There's a picture of everybody.
No, all right, because it's me. I don't want to backdoor people. I write up the player list, right? It's the player pool, so everybody has a handy list.
But you get them from other people too.
So it's both. So players I know, I'll write what I would call funny descriptions of them that are extremely insulting, sometimes offensive.
Brad Falco's is my favorite of all time. Share that one.
What was Falco's? I don't remember.
Brad Falco's, his entire draft description was a good guy to talk about movies with.
That was it. You're going to draft his basketball value based on that. And if you like movies, I mean, Brad's great to talk about movies. Brad is great to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, I would have taken him at the right spot just to talk about movies.
Sure.
So Troy's concerns are that people would be offended potentially.
It's not even that.
Blood hurt?
There's too much also talk between the captains during it, and we talk about what happened last season, and it's more just an open conversation that I think people would not be as comfortable saying if everybody was there.
Yeah, it's not. We're just kidding. It's not about whatever, having people be insulted or some shit like that. It's all in good fun. We're doing this just for fun to begin with. There's nothing on the line.
Right.
It's that potentially there could be some. I think it's influence. I just think if people are alive there, they're getting drafted or not drafted, and they're changing, I don't know, how captains are feeling. They're not making their honest picks,
Yep.
potentially, or taking things into account that they shouldn't. I hear you. I think what we're doing is the nice middle road, where we're going to have a clean draft where the captains get to do their thing, and then we'll do a draft reveal so you can experience it with all the suspense of not knowing the picks. We'll do them one by one in a public place. Everybody's going to be welcome again. We did it last year. We'll do it again, and I think it worked out fine.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I wasn't there for the bar part, but I think that's a great idea. I've been there for the other ones when I wasn't a captain, and even when I was, and we would do the pick. It was fun. So.
Well, there you go, Felipe. The answer is no!
Yeah, get the hell out of here, Felipe. I've had enough of you.
Well, my friend, this is it. This is literally the end of the road. The beer is all drank up. Denver is slaughtering them. It's not even worth watching this game. The hot tub is officially too hot.
It is way too hot.
We've
I'm
been
dying in
We've
this
been
hat.
in here for too long. It's a cool night, but it's like in the mid-70s right now, the temperature.
My body actually underneath the water is nice and like perfect temperature. Above the water, I'm dying in this hat.
It's the hat. It's the hat. You're right. We stripped
Sweating
these
up a
hats
storm.
off, but they're worth it. They're worth it to cool.
They are worth it.
You
Yeah,
sacrifice a little bit.
Definitely worth it.
But, again, thanks to everybody for participating in the league this year.
Here.
I can't say we're surprised how it ended and who came out on
I'm
top.
pretty surprised.
And I guess we can all leave you with this thought that for next year, come and get it.
All right. Matt Cole, just don't make any more trades with your brother.